Good afternoon and welcome to our second in a four-part series that Vivial is hosting, Local Marketing During the National Pandemic. We're excited to be with you again this week, and I have to say we were so excited by the number of questions that we got last week and also continuing through this week. So we're really excited to jump in and give you a ton of information to help you during this time. So let's jump in and let me introduce you to our panelists today. So obviously, hopefully most of you are with me for a second time. I'm Laura Cole, VP of Marketing for Vivial. And joining me today is Todd Renard, VP of Digital Product Management for Vivial, and all the way from Hawaii, Mr. John Lambert, our General Manager of the Hawaii region. So I'm thrilled to have both of these guys with me, longtime friends and colleagues, and really some of the brightest minds when it comes to how to market for local business. Today, yes, John, that is true. Today, we are going to focus, last time, we gave you tips and tricks across the board, and today we're going to dive deep on content and messaging that you should be doing during this time. So first, we're going to talk through how to craft and effectively message your business. Second, we're going to walk you through 3 content types that you should be utilizing. In times like this, it's hard to choose just 3, but we have narrowed it down. Lastly, we're going to talk through how to drive sales during this time, and then finally open it up for some Q&A. So like we did last time, we're going to try to keep, pretty short and sweet, 30 minutes total. We'll spend about the first 15 to 20 minutes going through, hopefully, what is very valuable information for you and your business, and then lastly, answer questions. Many of you submitted questions ahead of time. However, feel free to use the chat functionality on the webinar, and we'll be taking live questions also. So if you think of anything during our discussion, feel free to enter the question, and we'll get to as many questions as we can as we go. So let's jump in. First, we're going to talk through how to craft effective messaging during the pandemic. And some of these tips and tricks are the same as it is anytime, but there are obviously some unique things going on that you need to be mindful of. The first thing we would tell you is to be fluid. We've been talking about internally about how what you plan for a week from now could change drastically. We've obviously all seen that over the last several weeks. So stay fluid. You should plan ahead and should think about the message that you want to ultimately say to your current customers as well as prospects, but realize that the situation is changing really day by day and frankly minute by minute, and a lot of this is dependent on the area that you live in and the geography that you service. So I would say, 1, have a plan, but be very fluid with that plan and be willing to kind of change on a dime.
Laura, can I add one thing to that?
Yes,
which
please.
is part of being fluid is being balanced. So be responsive to what's happening, and a responsive is the next point on here, but you have to be thinking, how do I balance my messaging so that you're not so either A, doom and gloom, or B, rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Todd. And you bring up being responsive. And I think for, I can say for a number of the businesses that we work with, they're very used to working very personably and face-to-face with the clients that they currently work with. And certainly with stay-at-home orders and certainly social distancing, that has changed the way that many of you are having to work with your customers. So you need to make yourself available. We talked about this on last week a little bit about thinking about unique ways in this time to stay connected with your customers. So, you may not be able to talk to them face-to-face. So you're going to need to turn to online mediums, and that could be phone calls, that could be emails, it could be online chat that Mike mentioned on last week's meeting. So I think it's really important that you think through, how do you meet your customers where they're at and provide the most useful information to them. Third thing I would say is keep it simple. I think that this message holds true regardless of the time, but it certainly couldn't be more true in times like this. I don't know about the rest of you, but certainly the last several weeks have led to heightened anxiety, lots on people's minds, both personally as well as running your business. So with all of this chaos and everything that we're all inundated with in terms of the messaging, keep things really straightforward and clear. Wherever you can, try to have one-on-one communication with your clients. We touched on text messaging during the last session, and I would tell you, text communication is a very relevant one-to-one communication that is very simple to understand because it's as easy as how we talk to our friends on a daily basis. So think of it that there's a lot of chaos going on and you really want to cut through with a very simple and straightforward message. The last tip that I would suggest, and then I'll certainly allow John and Todd to add in any of their thoughts also, is be compassionate. Be understanding and thoughtful of the situation your customers are in and how their lives have changed. Think about ways that you can help service them, help take things off of their mind, help simplify their lives. It certainly will be something that is very appreciated by them and something that they'll remember in the years to come that they are a customer of yours. John, Todd, anything to add before we move on?
I think you covered it quite well, Laura.
Awesome. Okay. So now that we've talked about how to craft effective messaging, the three of us are going to walk you through 3 content types that you should be using. So as I mentioned at the start, this is not meant to be an all-inclusive list. I don't think that we'd have enough time for that. But as the three of us were talking through, ideas that we had that we wanted to make sure that we shared, these 3 certainly rose to the top as good ideas. So John, I'm going to turn it to you to walk through website content.
Thank you so much, Laura. Hello, everybody. Thanks for dialing in. I'm excited to talk to you about website content because for many reasons, one of which is that I feel as though websites in general and the content contained therein can sort of be the unsung hero of any business's marketing program. Why is that? Well, it's funny that we're even having this conversation because I was having a conversation with some of my online marketing nerd friends recently, and we collectively agreed that because websites have been around for so long, Todd's raising his hand, yes, you were one of them, that they are no longer the new shiny penny. So they can often be overlooked and considered as static in terms of how responsive they are content-wise. So I encourage everybody to think about that a little bit differently. Think about this. Some of the websites that we even still reference today were developed a long time ago, not long after. Oh, somebody's not on mute. There you go. Whoever just hit that mute button, congratulations to you on that. But sites have been around a long time. Shortly after Al Gore invented the internet, when was that? Like 1989 or something? I can't remember. Anyway, I digress. Use this time, use this period and pivot in our history as a way to do a site refresh. If you haven't touched your site in a while, now is a great time to do that. Most developers work remotely anyway. A lot of us are already working remotely, maybe have a little bit more time on our hands or have the opportunity to repurpose the time that we do have. So please, don't just consider, but absolutely do something to your site that lets your buying public know that you are up and running and still in business, and also let them know what you're doing differently, if anything, in light of COVID-19. So what to do about that? There's a number of things to post, and really, frankly, consumers now expect this. All of us have been on sites where most of them, the companies that we do business with, have some sort of messaging that lets us all know how to do business with them, how to interact with them, and what they're doing in light of the crisis. So if you haven't jumped on board with that, now is the best time to do so. COVID-19 resource pages are a great idea. You can put it all in one place for people to reference all that information. Here are some examples that I'd like to walk through with you. First one is a beauty supply company. Their message is very simple. It's on the first page, the homepage of their site, and it's super simple. It just says COVID-19 schedule change notice and talks about their new hours, and that's all it does. Now, what does that do? Implicit in that is, hey, we're still here, we're in business. You wouldn't have different hours if you were shut down. So it lets everybody know, hey, we're here, we're up and running, and here's when we're up and running. Number 2 is for a restaurant, extremely effective. What I love about this COVID-19 message is that you simply cannot miss it. It's just right there, front and center. And it immediately lets the buying public know that, hey, Jimmy's is open for curbside and delivery services. And by the way, here's how you order from us. It makes it very, very easy for the consumer to do so by providing the different vendors and distribution services there. So you can simply just click and order. Very, very effective. As we know, many companies have closed their doors now. So those who are still open, we've got to let the public know that that is the case. Third and final one there on the bottom left-hand side, I will give ourselves a bit of a self-aggrandizing pat on the back, and shameless plug here. This is our site, vivial.net. I know, it's beautiful. It's really nice. We have a COVID resource center on our site because we have so many clients and work so closely with this very pivotal and critical piece of what businesses need to do, which is online marketing today, where your online real estate is even more important than your physical real estate. We have information packed this site in this area for people to have good tips and do's and don'ts on, hey, what do I do? What should or should not I do with my site and otherwise to weather this storm and come out of it on the other side.
I know we mentioned it on the last meeting. Folks listening can get to those tips and tricks by visiting vivial.net, and there's a link at the bottom of the page and really every page that you can link there with all sorts of information. And you're right, you don't have to be a company like ours. You can do that for how it's impacting your industry as well, which I think are great examples. Thanks for taking us through those website examples. Todd, we're going to have you take us through the next step, which is social media.
I think one thing that is interesting to watch right now is the dramatic increase in social media usage. There's been some stats floating out there about a 50% increase. The other stat that I think is pretty interesting is that actually mobile usage has actually gone down. Well, that's not surprising because many people are not as mobile as they once were, so desktop usage is holding strong. But social media in particular, more and more people are using it today, and they're spending more time on it today looking for updates, local news updates, business updates, personal updates, trying to stay connected. So it's a great way to continue to connect with an audience, a client, a prospect, or personal connections. All of those can impact your business in one way or another. I think what's most relevant today is some of the questions that you would ask yourself about any piece of content can be followed by right now. So for example, is my message appropriate right now? Is my content appropriate, my tone appropriate, my imagery appropriate right now? For example, people with practicing social distancing. So if you're posting on social media, probably not ideal to have pictures of groups of people together. There's nothing wrong with groups of people together. It's just not something that is happening currently, right? So be mindful of those types of things. The other thing to be mindful of is calls to action. At the end of the day, a lot of this is advertising. It is for your business to maintain customer loyalty, maintain connections, even drive business, of course. But be mindful of whatever the calls to action are. Are they realistic and are they achievable? So if your call to action is book an appointment, well, if you're doing virtual appointments, be mindful of virtual appointments. If you are e-commerce or you sell products online, great, that is achievable and actionable. So be mindful of what action you're expecting as a result of the post and the call to action that is part of the content that's in there. A couple of post types that I've seen. So many of our clients have come to us and said, I need to retool the content, or we've gone proactively to them to say, okay, we need to take a look at your content schedule and your content calendar and adjust that to make it more appropriate for state of affairs, right? So here's a couple of examples of clients that we've worked with. One is acknowledging the impact of COVID-19 and acknowledging what they're doing for their employees and how to keep their clients safe. Another example is a restaurant, which is really important. They're not closed. They have to remind you, they want to remind you that they are still open for business. They've just changed how they're delivering their services. In this case, it's curbside pickup, or they may offer delivery as well. So that's really important to continue that type of content and that type of messaging. And the third is an example, which I think the world has changed forever in this regard from a medical standpoint, is virtual appointments and telemedicine and that kind of thing. So that may not have been something of importance prior, but now it's super relevant, and it will probably continue to be relevant in forever, frankly, just because the landscape is completely changed. So some of the basic tenets of amplifying a message in social media haven't changed, But the way that you look at and view the content that you're publishing, you should be mindful of, again, is it appropriate? Is it right? Is it actionable right now?
Yeah, I think those are great ones, Todd. I think through my piggybacking on the last one that you brought up, my kid's pediatrician office is doing a fantastic job of posting on social and giving updates about how they're managing this. Everything from doing strep tests in the parking lot, which I had to do for my youngest child, to telemedicine visits for some more basic appointments. And it's nice to know I can look at their social page, and honestly, before I even call into the office, I know what my options are. So it's saving the receptionist time from having to talk through it. I feel better informed. I feel I have more peace of mind. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of make that connection and touch lots of people, and even save your folks, your receptionist time and having to explain how you're operating. Great example.
Some of my favorites right now that we've worked with clients on are cross-promoting other local businesses. So doing business with me, I maybe have a contest where I'm offering a gift certificate to a local restaurant, or a local restaurant is cross-promoting another local restaurant. Or as part of my giving back to the community, I'm donating to a local food bank. So there's, again, socially responsible, socially engaging content, treating it as much as advertising as it is a discussion and engaging with an audience.
Yeah, definitely. Great examples, Todd. Thanks. Okay, so with a few minutes left before we get into questions, I'm going to take us through our last content type, which is video. Video is an incredible way. I think we touched on it last week. It's a great way to connect with your customers face-to-face when, let's face it, you really can't be face-to-face anymore. So you can post how-to videos, product demonstrations, questions and answers. In a way, even what we're doing right now is video promotion, right? Yes, it's a live webinar, but it's a way when we can't be at trade shows or be at local events actually seeing you, that we're able to engage with you and continue to hopefully give you some value as you're running your business. So let's jump in and look at a few examples of videos that we've seen that I think are really relevant during this time. The first is a company that helps businesses with connectivity, right? Obviously, networking right now is incredibly important as you have a number of people and businesses running from homes in places where we need really good network connectivity. The second is a special highlighting lunch specials every day from 11 to 2. Again, this is a restaurant that's clearly offering still either probably curbside pickup or delivery services. And the second one, again, is a healthy virtual appointment. We talked about this from a social perspective, but here is a video that actually describes how you can schedule a virtual appointment. So really, really powerful ways. I think that video, we've long said video by far is one of the most, probably one of the best performing types of content. It's incredibly engaging and a great way for your business to reach clients. It doesn't have to be difficult, right? Like we've talked before, I know in previous webinars, it can be as simple as recording a short video on your iPhone or whatever mobile device you have. It does not have to be necessarily a professional video. So with that, before we get into Q&A, I did want to let all of you know that we are launching an offer to help all of you. So starting today through the end of the month, April 30th, Vivial wants to help you engage with your customers. For anybody that purchases a marketing platform Prime or Choice package, we will produce a free promotional video for you. This is a great way. Again, it's a video that you can use to promote on your website or on social media or any of the avenues that we talked about earlier. In addition, customers also receive 1 month free, and all of our setup fees are waived right now. We've talked a lot about meeting your customers and figuring out ways to help them during the time that they need it, and this is our way of hopefully helping you and your business in a time that you need most. So with that, we've got about 10 minutes left, and I've been looking over here because I see questions flying in, so we're going to jump right into the Q&A portion of today's event. So let's start in. Again, if you have a question, some of you have posted them as we go, but reminder that you can use the chat feature to post, and we're going to jump right in. So Todd, I'm going to throw this first question to you. Is it better to just put one message at the top of my social media page and then just leave it at that? Or should I continue posting like normal with that one post at the top?
So I think what's being asked here is Facebook has the ability to what they call pin a post. And by pinning a post, it's very easy to do, by the way. There's some controls in the upper right-hand corner of any post, but to pin a post, it means that it is always fixed at the top of your newsfeed on that particular page. Right now, it's particularly relevant because you're likely going to want to have content up there that speaks to either something that's happening with your service, your hours, your employees, how you're coping, what's happening with business operations. So it's particularly useful for those types of messages. More broadly, I would say that you should be looking for posts that have high engagement so that you're maximizing that engagement, and that's the type of post that you would pin. But remember, it's the first thing that's seen in that list, so I would also say over time, you'll want to change that out. Again, for right now, there's a very specific piece of information that's extremely relevant. That's the piece of information you want to pin.
Great, thanks, Todd. John, I'm going to throw this next question to you. If you are not a business who sells items, but offers services, and in parentheses, it's a law office, it sounds like, how do you advertise to draw people into your business to use your services?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think regardless of what service you're in, it's really important to ask yourself, to what degree can I digitize and virtualize what I'm doing? So in the case of who asked the question, if you're a law practice, what pieces of your practice can you get done effectively without having to do so in the way that you're used to doing? So part of that is really figuring out how to meet your clients and potential clients on their terms and in ways that are more convenient and easy for them. As an example, there's roughly at least half a dozen video conferencing softwares out there that people are using. Of course, usage in those has spiked tremendously in the past couple of weeks. So some people are very new to using these technologies and platforms. Even some business owners don't typically use them. So I would encourage you, use all of them. Download every single one you get your hands on and ask the client, hey, which one are you most comfortable with? Because I can use all of them. And that is an easy way to just bridge that gap of interaction between you and that potential client, and kind of make them feel really comfortable and just make it easier for them to engage with you and do business with you. Other things you can do is get the word out on how you are functioning and what you've done to function well in this new environment. Have you taken sanitization steps at your office? If you're an essential business, are you still open? Can you still show up to the office to do business? Do you have your office set up in such a way where you can allow people to preserve social distancing requirements? Do you have that blue tape on your floor 6 feet apart from each other? Stuff like that. I think there's no really wrong way to engage with your buying public right now, as long as you're getting the message out that, hey, I'm here. I've done things to help you. I've done things to continue to provide these services. In light of all the changes, that people will respond to that. In this case, you mentioned, I think it's a law firm. You know, curbside service is not only for restaurants. You can do things like drive up or drive through document signing, things like that. Anything creative to make the clients feel more comfortable with the type of interaction or engagement that you're able to do for them.
Yeah, I think those are all great ideas, John. Definitely. I'm going to combine the next two, a couple questions, because I think that as we answer them, we can think about them together. So one question is, do I have to change my entire messaging strategy in light of COVID-19? Like scrap everything and start over? That's one. And then the second question that came in, and I think they're a little related, is, are we overdoing the COVID with our marketing? Should we stay focused on the benefits of working with we or me? Anxiety is already high, maybe go the other way, right? So I view that these are two very connected topics. Todd, I'm going to turn it to you to kind of start to answer the question, and then I'll layer in if I have any thoughts.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge, it would be remiss not to acknowledge the state of things. But I totally agree. You don't want to completely abandon the basics of demonstrating the benefits that your business offers to clients and prospects. I think that the type of content may shift a bit because some of it is more distance oriented, but providing things like DIY information, need to know reminders, alerts, how-tos, educational and instructional, either videos or content, trying to be helpful to your audience, to your customers, because this will pass and they will need services, and you want to remain top of mind, and you want them to retain and recall the best things that you offer. So do you need to adjust your approach? Absolutely. Do you need to swing the pendulum all the way over? Absolutely not.
I couldn't agree more. I think that if you focus too much on COVID-19, obviously we're all hearing about it every day, no matter where we turn. So it should not be all of that. I think that the key, in my opinion, is setting that really foundational strategy for your business. So, you know, I think one of the questions that I asked about, is it too much? That should I focus on the benefits of working with myself or the business? Absolutely, you should. That should be the foundation to any marketing that you're doing. And then where it's appropriate, talk about how you're responding during these times. It is all about balance. Don't swing that pendulum too far the other way. I definitely agree that those were both great questions. Okay, let me get to the next one. I don't have a budget to spend on advertising right now. What can I do on my own to help my business? I think that's a great question. Obviously, as a digital marketing provider that works alongside local businesses, we'd love to help, but also understand in these times when a business says, you know what, I've got to do some things on my own. So I would tie back, and you can go to the vivial.net site and watch last week's if you weren't on that one. I would definitely suggest watching that, because in that we lined out really 6 tactics to use for your business. So making sure, you know, John on this call talked about your website and making sure that that's up to date. You know, hopefully you can make changes to your website with basic things on the homepage. Definitely want to make sure that your hours are updated. Want to make sure that you're talking to current customers, whether that be through simple emails or even text messages, if you're able to do text messaging. So think through things about ways that you know that you can reach your customers. And try to think about the long game and not just the time that we're in, obviously, also. Okay, we have a couple minutes left. We'll definitely try to squeeze in one more. Todd, I'm going to throw this one to you. Is it beneficial to post your social postings to your GMB, and that is Google My Business for those that aren't aware. So is it beneficial to post your social postings to your GMB profile to help your company with SEO and SEM?
I think that could be a complete half-hour session, as much as in that question. So I'll try to break it down, but not be too long-winded. So one, just as a foundational statement, a GMB or a Google My Business profile is primarily used to help your business be found within search results and Google Map results. Secondary to that, it is to help you engage with, you know, existing customers and new customers. So that's a foundational statement about what Google My Business is. So the information that is on that page is really foundational information, location information, contact information. Another important piece, really important piece, I can't stress enough, is the reviews that are on your Google My Business page. And even as important as the review is, the response is equally as important. So if you are fortunate enough to have reviews, make sure that you're responding, and responding with something more than thank you. Respond with at least 2 sentences, and the marketer in you should include some keywords. So if somebody says, hey, Todd's Roofing did a fantastic job, et cetera, love them, would highly recommend them, then respond with, hey, Laura, thank you for the nice comments. The tile roof that I did for you looks beautiful, i.e. tile roof is the keyword that is highlighted there. So you're acknowledging that somebody is appreciating you. You are also, from an SEO standpoint, you are leveraging that response. Google probably gives you some brownie points for being engaged with your clients. So there's another SEO aspect to that. SEM is a different topic. I'm going to just put that one aside. I know that was part of the question, but that's a whole different animal. But the core of the question was posting on Google, and particularly social posting on Google. It serves a little bit different purpose. The types of posts on your Google My Business profile are typically events, products, updates. There's one more that I'm missing, offers, special offers. So if your content fits into one of those categories, absolutely post it. It is a different type of content. One thing I do want to mention is that just recently, I think within the last week or so, they have a new content type, a new post type, specifically for COVID-19. This is similar in nature to what I mentioned on Facebook, where you can pin it to the top. Google My Business allows you to do this as well, to create a COVID-19 announcement that gets pinned to the top of your GMB profile. Really important to take advantage of this. There's no cost to any of these things. These things are available to you. So to the other question about what can I do if I'm tight on budget right now, you have full capabilities to do some of these things yourself. Certainly we like to help you do these things to make it easier so you can focus on your business, but it is available to you. So this example of the COVID-19 type, it's really intended to provide updates and announcements and information to somebody who has found you through search or Google Maps. So try not to be too long-winded, but there's so much to cover in that one question.
There was quite a bit in that one question, Todd, and I think that took us right up to the end. Actually, we're a couple minutes over, and I definitely want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I know a number of you, I still see questions flowing in, and we would love to take time to answer all of them, but do keep in mind that we will be back for the next 2 Thursdays in April, sharing additional ideas with you to help you during this time. So hopefully today, John and Todd and I were able to share some really tangible ideas that you can take to help your business. We thank you for your time and hope everybody has a great day. Thanks all.
Thank you. Stay well.
Thanks, everyone.